What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Checking into you right now from Cyprus. Now, today's a little bit of a tricky day. Why? Because there's no news announcements. That means the market is prone to do whatever it likes. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to break down Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about some news articles that have hit the marketplace, which could stir up a little bit of flavor in the charts to move the markets up. One in particular is the fact that a Chinese wealth management firm has missed out on its payments and the government stepping in because it cannot afford to allow one of the biggest wealth management firms that sells all sorts of financial products to big corporations and high net worth individuals to go under. Now, when China starts pumping, the markets around the world like that. Why? Because China is the world's factory, and if they slow down, everyone slows down. More importantly, Sam Bankman-Fried, that guy's in jail right now. Should that have an impact on Bitcoin? Let's have a conversation. So we get the party started off with this article talking about the woes in China. Now, Shangji Enterprise, which is a wealth management firm, handles a lot of capital for high net worth individuals and, of course, corporations. Now, the reason why stocks and bonds are rising is because the Chinese government is now stepping in to prevent this situation from getting worse. Now, China's already got an issue. Their manufacturing index, or the manufacturing sector, is actually coming to a slowdown. So the economy is getting hit pretty hard. And the Chinese government needs to step in and pump liquidity. This is the only thing that's going to resolve this matter, which is why stocks and bonds are rising. When China pumps money back into the economy, it only means that these companies are now going to have more access to cash to settle existing liabilities and, of course, start investing in assets overseas with much better returns, like bonds, the US stock market. That's why you're seeing everything going up right now. Now, with that being said, if we go over to cryptocurrency, we need to understand a couple of things. Should Bitcoin be moving up right now on this news? Well, let's just look at what's going on in crypto. We've had some good news regarding Sam Bankman-Fried. He's now on his way to jail. He's had his bail revoked, but this was bound to happen. This shouldn't have an impact on Bitcoin. Going into the chart itself, we can see that Bitcoin is still toying with this 29,500 zone. We go into the daily time frame, as we always like to do, to establish exactly where we are in the marketplace. Now, look, I've said it to you all. As long as Bitcoin can break above this 50 EMA line, as you can see right here, we're talking about the 29,363. If Bitcoin can hold above this point, then it would give us more reason to believe that we're going to start working towards this violet vector candle right here. Now, a little trick for you. Go and get yourself a Fibonacci, take the wick of the candlestick, go all the way down to the end of the candlestick wick, and you will have the midpoint of the actual vector candle. Now, if you go back in the charts and look at this, you will notice that price does something as it approaches the midpoint of a vector candle, because this candle wasn't a vector beforehand. It became one, okay? So with that being said, we will understand if when price gets towards the 30,771, will Bitcoin start to sell off from there? All you need to do to use that as an example is go into Friday to witness what had happened at the vector candle midpoint. Check this out. I want to play you a video that I shared to the Patreons on Friday regarding a vector candle recovery. Check this out. Now, Bitcoin is going to move up before it moves down. We know what the story is. Be careful of this flavor like they did yesterday, all right? Now, the ideal is, yep, shoot up to come down, vector candle recovery, that would be the logic. This is the point that I'm making reference to in that video. So we go to the recovery of the red vector candle, which was this point right here. Go all the way down to the wick. And this is where we anticipated that they would come back to the recovery of the vector candle to tell us if they were going to sell off. And look what had happened. The big green vector candle that came in on the Friday came up to the literally so close to the midpoint of the red vector candle. And at that point, it rejected it and dropped. Many of the guys took advantage of that and they saw the success of the short trade, because the hybrid system is all about doing the opposite of what you see price doing. When price is rising, it's about Mr. Market Maker trying to lift the price so that he can trap the retail trader long, so that he can build his shorts in anticipation to reverse price back down. And you can see how they made their way up towards that vector candle right there. and then instantly reversed it. So going into the daily time frame, we're going to take that same logic. And we're going to assume that if Bitcoin can make its way back up towards this region right here of the 30,770, then we would naturally assume Bitcoin to reverse from that point. But what would we need to see happening from now? Well, that is where we bring in the smaller time frames. We go to the 1 hour time frame. And of course, what we said about China, if it's going to be good news that China is going to be pumping the markets, logic would say that we would expect Bitcoin to start moving back up. Now, we have seen a little bit of success with Bitcoin moving to the upside. It's managed to clear the psychological high, but it hasn't actually done a good job to hold. But if you look, the moving averages, they're somewhat compressed. It's like all over the place. And of course, there's nothing really happening in the market for news today, but we do have a lot of information coming out in the marketplace tomorrow, which has got the manufacturing index for the US. So that might actually be a market mover tomorrow. But when you're looking for opportunities with Bitcoin and you're using the ideal of, for example, the red vector candle recovery or the green vector candle recovery, take that same logic. Wait for price to make the move first, because it's always going to be a false move. They need to induce retail to mark price, okay? If Bitcoin decides to move up from this point, naturally, Mr. Market Maker is encouraging traders to step in. Well, what's inside of this area? Well, we know that there are traders trapped in stops up here. Okay, all you got to do is just go into the high block itself and have a look at the liquidations. This is where we are right now for the liquidation points. At 28,000, no, it's just before that, 28,950, we've got roughly around $4.1 billion worth of long liquidations. And then, of course, as we go higher up beyond the 30,000, we've got 30,450, we have around $3.7 billion worth of short liquidations. Now, going back into the marketplace, look, this is what's important. When NASDAQ and, of course, the S&P are pumping, the logic says that you would expect the market, or should I say Bitcoin, to do the same thing. But Bitcoin is always last to move. And you've always got to keep that into consideration, okay? So when you see NASDAQ like this, see NASDAQ right now is printing a perfect example of the green vector candle recovery. Look at this. Take the midpoint, or should I say take the wick, take the absolute low, and just look what NASDAQ's doing right now. That's the midpoint of when they decided to mark price up. So logic says that if NASDAQ can hold this point, we would expect NASDAQ to start moving up to recover this violet vector candle and try and clear the range and make its way back up towards the next vector recovery candle point, which would be inside of this zone right here. That's that red vector candle zone at the top side right here. Happy days. We would expect it to do something at this point, okay? This is how you add structure to your trading using the hybrid system, all right? Now, going back into Bitcoin, we need to understand what we can expect going into the open of the New York session. Well, if we go over to the indicator and put in the sessions, we can see right now that Bitcoin is still trading in line of the UK markets. All right, we haven't got the US markets open just yet. That's why I'm getting this video out to you. Now, at the start of a trading week, what I like to do is I like to wait for Asia, or should I say the Monday session, to form. Okay, so this is the Asian session high. This is the Asian session low. I want to wait and see how price behaves on a Monday around this range. Now, the logic has it that if they move away from the high or the Asian session high at the start of the week, most of the time what we're looking for is we're looking for price to break that zone, retrace into that by Tuesday, to then continue back up all the way up into Wednesday. And then, of course, in cryptocurrency, we would naturally anticipate a midweek reversal to come back down into the range. Okay. Likewise, if they do the same to the downside, that is naturally what we would expect. We would expect them to try and break down below, come back into it, and then for the remainder of the week, coming downside to Thursday to only try and do a reversal to come back up into that range. Okay. Now, the thing is about this range right now with Bitcoin is we do have a point of interest. We've got a green vector candle and the daily open has not been tested. Bitcoin has the tendency to test the daily open. So when it comes to the New York open, we're going to have a Brinks box. The Brinks box is going to look something like this. If I go back, here we go. This is the Brinks box for the New York session. If you zoom in, you can see this area right here is effectively the Brinks box. All right. Let me just mark it off for you so you can see it bright as day inside of this zone, which usually comes in. Well, it actually starts at around 1 o'clock, goes all the way through till about 2:30 when the markets are fully open. Okay, if I bring you into the 50-minute time frame, it might be a little bit clearer for you. Here we go. Right here, You see this zone here? This area is the US Brinks box. It's little range. This usually sets up the narrative for the marketplace. Now, if they do a fast move away from it, they'll be looking for the high. Okay? So pay attention to how price behaves. If they've made a high in the New York session and they start to stall, there is a high chance that a reversal is on the cards. What are you looking for? You're looking for vector candles to trade back into. So if we look at this is on the 15-minute time frame, and we go to the top side right here, mark it off, and go to the 5-minute time frame, zoom out, and you'll see that at that time, Bitcoin, during the Brinks box, started to pump up. You see the green vector candles right there, okay? As they moved up, we had more green vector candles and then another green vector with lots of wicks. But they moved above the 800 EMA. It was deemed as a bold move away from the moving averages. Because look at the moving averages. They ended up being flat. They were trading sideways. No real action other than the 50 EMA. But the 800 EMA was pretty flat. Okay? Now this is on the 5-minute time frame. Once they move away and find the high, you're looking to see if there's going to be an imbalance, which will be presented by price moving away from the moving average. Your logic would say that you're expecting price to come back down into that range. Okay? So wait until the New York session actually opens, okay? And then wait for the Brinks box to finalize. In other words, the best time to start looking for trades would be 3 p.m. UK time, which is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard. Now, Monday is deemed as a false move at the beginning of the week. So please, if you're going to take trades, make sure you pay yourself by the end of Monday's close. If you're day traders, if you're holders, let Monday finalize because we're going to know more about the markets with the news that comes out tomorrow regarding the US. If we go over to the dollar dominance, you can see already that dollar itself is starting to try and pull back ever so slightly after this big move to the upside. All we now need to be waiting for is the dollar to effectively test moving averages to assume that we're going to see higher action, okay? Because look, 50 EMAs right there, logic would say that dollar is going to be preparing to come back up. Just look at the red vector candle. Look at the midpoint of that vector candle zone, how they respected it yet again, okay? So I hope that serves you, ladies and gentlemen. We're not in exactly the best environment. We don't have the green screen. We've got a bit of a natural wall behind us. But more importantly, if you want to learn more about the hybrid, go check us out on the Patreon. I'm going to be active with the patrons, going to be in the Discord. I'm going to try and do a couple of live streams with them. Just got to try and find the right access for internet. But if you haven't done so, go check out the website. There is a free course which talks about these topics regarding the hybrid system so you can go and learn it for yourself. All right? Mad love and respect, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll be checking in with you all tomorrow. Peace.